bitch, a ribbon Coca-Cola. We invented the cherry tomato and Waze USB drives and the Iron Dome. Israeli salad, Uzi Stenton, Jaffa's orange grow. Microchips was us, iPhone cameras us, taco salads us, Obama's us, Olive Garden us, White Phosphor us, Sabra Hamas, Hasbara sus.
Hello and welcome to Bad Hasbara,
the most moral podcast on the planet. Fuck. I got it wrong. I got it wrong. Let me
moral.
Give it to me again.
It's the world's most moral.
No, slower. Slow down. One word at a time.
The world.
The world.
The world's is possessive. Most moral.
The world's most moral
podcast.
I don't know what that is.
That's what we're doing right now. This is called podcasting. It's a thing that white people do because the economy is bad.
In the 21st century.
Yeah, because there is no more. We don't build stuff in America anymore. We just make podcasts. This is our number one export as Americans. It's podcasts and I think guns. I'm not sure which one is. If podcasts have overtaken guns, that'd be sick. That would be so sick.
I know. I like to listen to podcasts while eating cherry tomatoes.
I like listening to podcasts while eating my gun. My name is Matt Lieb. I am one of your most moral co-hosts.
My screen name says Trepidatious D, but my born name is Daniel Mate, and I'm the other.
That's right. Trepidatious D in the house. I assume that's a reference to Kyle Gass and Jack Black are maybe splitting up, or they canceled the tour. Because what Kyle Gass said something about the assassination of the president being like, what did he do? What happened?
He said, next time, don't miss. Don't miss Trump.
Okay.
Yeah. And Jack Black didn't want to be associated with that because libs right now are in an uncomfortable position of
denying what they actually believe deep in their hearts.
Well, or confessing. Adam quite randomly writes, canonically, Bowser did Birthright. You mean Bowser from Mario?
Yeah, I assume so.
Yeah, okay. We'll come back to asking him what the fuck that was about, apropos of nothing, or at least nothing I can see. But that we love Adam for that. Like, producer Adam Levin in the house.
Shout out to producer Adam Levin.
One theory is revealing what they really believe in their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is revealing that, in fact, they never believed it, and they've just been talking out of their asses with, oh, he's Hitler, oh, whatever. Because
100%.
Glenn Greenwald pointed this out. If you really think he's Hitler, you might say it's a terrible thing when a president gets whatever, or you say whatever. You don't say we're wishing him a speedy recovery and so on and so forth. Jack Black not having the courage of his political class's convictions.
Yeah, it is. It's just, I'm sorry, but it's like, I respect what's her name? Kathy Griffin. She got in trouble for having the headless Trump thing, and everyone freaked out. That was the first time I was like, all you liberals should love this. What are you talking about? It's like, don't have the rhetoric if you're not gonna just be like, hey, what can you do? They almost got him. Come on. Just
I would have made some kind of play on that. Politics, as we all know, is all about dead presidents anyway.
Yeah. Is that a Dead Prez reference or Ghostbusters?
Well, dead Prez reference being a reference to dollars, because dead presidents means bills.
I love
it. In hip hop vernacular, which is my first language. Producer Adam Levin has clarified that Jack Black plays the voice of Bowser in the Mario movie. I don't know if he did screen capture like Gollum style,
with the ball suit.
Politics stops at the moat to King Koopa's castle. Man, I guess that would make Baron Trump. What's the name of that? His son, one of the Koopas.
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about the lore behind Super Mario Brothers. I'm more of a Sonic guy.
Lenny, yeah, exactly.
If you want to ask me about the freedom fighters fighting against Robotnik, I think I know a thing or two about those.
Robotnik, that's definitely Jewish coded.
Oh, very much so. His whole thing was anti-Semitic. Sonic was straight up
Sonic versus Kibbutznik.
Yeah. Okay, before we introduce the guests, just one more reminder. Come to Chicago on August 19th and 20th at Lincoln Lodge, 7 p.m. Live podcast, and then also a live stand-up show the next day. Ticket link in bio. And then San Francisco, Punchline, Wednesday, this next Wednesday coming up, July 24th through 27th, Wednesday through Saturday, I will be featuring for the hilarious Helen Hong at the San Francisco Punchline. Please come out to that. Shout out to Adam Levin, shout out to JP Ben and all the mods over at r/bad Hasbara, which to this day is still running.
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, amazing, because I totally interrupted you and you just barreled ahead, which I totally respected, but I just wanted to make sure that it was because you couldn't hear me.
Now I can hear you. What were you saying?
I just made a joke about Lincoln Lodge and dead presidents and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
I did what you'd expect me to do, which is just to barrel in with a total non sequitur.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was great.
Has Matt grown some balls in the past week?
Yeah, I'm finally stopping you from doing your thing.
No more.
Yes, no more. I will not listen to any more references.
Someone called us beta midgets on Twitter.
Beta midgets?
Beta midgets,
I'm 6'6". That's bullshit.
Exactly. I wanted to say, have you ever seen an alpha midget? It's a bad scene.
Dude, alpha midget, the Tyrion Lannister. I don't exactly. Maybe he's a dwarf. Maybe listen, I don't know the little people is the term. Whoever said that was a fascist. We're not fascists. Okay, we're gonna bring up our guest, who I'm very excited about because I've been watching his videos since. It was like early in October. He started putting out content, doing some geopolitical analysis of what's going on with the quote Gaza war. And has been someone who I find to be very cogent and illuminating when it comes to this stuff, because I'm not a military guy. I don't know shit about it. All of my assumptions on how the war is going is based on just my general knowledge of Israelis that I know personally. And I'm like, oh, they're saying that it's going good, so it's going bad. So our guest is a former Army Ranger, geopolitical analyst for Mint Press News, and the host of the Colonial Outcasts podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, welcome Greg Stoker.
Oh, hey y'all! Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah! How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just stepping on a Wednesday afternoon or whatever day this is, ready to start talking.
Trash. Are you in Korea? It's Tuesday where we are.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no! I'm in Long Island. So
are you in North Korea? Is that what you mean by colonial outcast?
Yeah.
Are you working for the enemy? Have you gone that far?
No, I mean honestly, I stopped because I haven't got my IRGC paycheck yet from Iran. So I'm kind of freelance again in between jobs.
I can't wait to. The problem is that when you invoice Iran, they have a net 60 policy, so it takes 60 days to get my money, and I'm just like, what the fuck, Iran?
The Islamic excuse me, God damn it, the Islamic Republic of "We'll get back to you."
There we go.
The Islamic Republic of "Hold, please."
That's right, and it's fucking bullshit. What do you think, we're doing propaganda for free?
No, I have a lifestyle to maintain. Okay?
Exactly, dude. So. I got shit to do. I got people to see. I can't just be waiting on my. All right. So I want to talk to you about your life and your experience and kind of the things that led up to the content that you've been making. So can you tell me what exactly is the Army?
I'm not really, I don't know. It's like, it's where you go if you get lost on your way to college.
Okay.
Yeah. So
can I ask a follow-up question, Greg?
Yes.
How is an Army Ranger different from a park ranger, different from a Power Ranger? How do I tell those three things apart?
Okay. First of all, Power Rangers have the most funding. because those suits are a lot to maintain. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'd say Army Rangers are a direct action special operations unit. So we're a little bit above funding for general park rangers. But again, Power Rangers get the most appropriate government appropriations.
That makes, they have to fight Rita Repulsa. I mean, you can't do that with no money. All right?
Yeah.
You got to fight the putties. I know a lot about Power Rangers. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're busting out some lore I don't know about. I felt like if I passed Power Ranger selection as opposed to just regular Army Ranger selection, I would know more Power Ranger lore
Absolutely.
too. But
sound off in the chat as to which is more lame to know a lot of lore about: Sonic, Power Rangers, or Super Mario Brothers universe.
Yeah. We're gonna add a poll to the chat.
Yeah.
But so you were a ranger. What got you to enlist? And what are your thoughts about citizen armies in general? No, let's start with the first one.
And where did you serve, if you don't mind us telling?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I actually wasn't from the normal military recruit demographic. I did have some officers in my family, but I joined the Army when I got kicked out of a New England boarding school, and I was like, I don't want to go to college, and I also. Not a unique story. Didn't have the best home environment, and it was a good way to get the F out of there. And then I went into the Ranger Regiment because I was like, I am kind of a bit of a psycho. I want to have an adventure. I'm going to go into a special operations unit. I don't know. The Rangers appealed to me more than the Green Berets, so that's what I went with. I wasn't about to be a Marine Force reconnaissance because I came from an Army family. So yeah, it wasn't some Captain America stuff. It was just a means to an end. I mean, I also had a lot of cognitive dissonance going on because in 2009, when I had passed basic training, we had already known that the whole premise of the Iraq War was maybe a little a straight up lie, fake. And then I was actually too young for Iraq, so I did 4 combat deployments to Afghanistan, starting off as a team leader. An assault team leader, and then I started to branch into military intelligence, kind of informally at first, doing field interrogations and stuff. Don't worry, I only believed in positive incentives like money. And then I did my 5-year contract. Then I got into Columbia University. I was like, oh, I'm going special operations, Ivy League, and then CIA. And then I realized that was not nice, which is why I didn't do it.
Well, you fucked up. You went to school first.
Yeah, no. If I'd found a way to go to college after, I would have still believed imperialism was awesome and totally rad. But it's kind of hard to like study anthropology and be like, oh, colonial projects, good for the world, good for the colonized, good for the colonizer. No, it's all bad. So
that's why I don't trust pretty much anyone in politics, because the ones, they all went to these Ivy League universities and I assume learned about American imperialism, and they were like, cool. They still decided to do it.
well, no.
Here's my Ghostbusters reference for the day, Matt.
All right, do it.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, actually, Edward Said in Orientalism, which I read because I studied anthropology.
Sure.
Because I was also taking international relations classes where they don't talk about imperialism at all.
Right.
So it was through post-colonial studies where I actually got exposed to it. It was like, oh yeah, I did fight in 2 illegal wars that were actually just pretty much meant to wash money out of the public sector through the defense apparatus back into the private sector.
Yeah.
But hell yeah, dude.
Fucking cool.
Fight. I fought for your freedom.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the freedom, dog.
Thank me for my service.
Yeah. I mean, so
oh boy.
So I hear that freedom isn't free though.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So thank you for paying the cost for us.
Yeah.
So you went to college and you started learning about colonialism and American imperialism and sort of the geopolitical web of alliances that creates an American imperium. And did you start being a critic of the war publicly then? Or when did you start publicly being a critic of American imperialism?
What were the first? What Matt is asking basically, what were the first hints, the first symptom signs of treason?
Yeah.
Okay. Before I started working for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
One does not simply wake up one morning. This is a Lord of the Rings reference, I guess.
Yeah.
That I'll get.
One does not simply wake up one morning and say, "I'm going to become a paid agent of the Islamic Republic."
Sure.
You have to work your way up.
Right. And you know, I get it's all Obama's fault. You know, I was in tactical operations centers, like watching, you know, $150,000 Hellfire missiles get shot at dudes who may have been bad guys, may have not been. There just wasn't really a standard of proof for it. Then I was also in when Obama signed that order to like drop a giant wedding in Yemen and just smoked a bunch of people. And then I kind of had like some sort of like insider perspective on what was happening in Syria at the time around like 2012, 13. Like we were giving arms to Al-Qaeda affiliated groups in the Al-Nusra front to fight against Iranian proxies within the region. And like, oh, whoops, ISIS gets created. I guess we have to go like send in special operations units like my friends and us to go fight them. It's like, what exactly are we doing here, guys? What's going on? Are we just manufacturing forever wars to give us justification to stay in this mineral-rich area and strategically important area of the world? I don't know. That was just a question I started thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, so you started thinking about these questions. Was there anything during the time while you were serving? You did 4 deployments, is that right?
Yeah.
Anything that you started seeing over there that sort of started changing your perspective, or did you have any other comrades in your unit? Is it a unit? I don't know.
Yeah, you say unit. It works.
Yeah, who you started talking to and being like, hey, what are we even fucking doing here? Or was this something that kind of came after?
Well, I mean, there's a general dissatisfaction. Like sometimes you'd go out to like conduct like a high value target raid to like, it's what we called like kill capture missions, and there's like no intelligence basis. Sometimes you'd just be like, they were just like sending us out on crap just to generate missions that really weren't doing anything, and you just end up like blowing the vehicle gate off some dude's house and like scaring everybody. It's just like, oh, sorry. My bad, dude. And it's like a lot of operations were that. It's like, what actually are we accomplishing?
Didn't you get the operational instructions manual drafted by Thomas Friedman? What you're supposed to say when you knock on their door is, suck on this.
That's right. That's what you're supposed to do.
Another thing not published in the New York Times. That was on Charlie Rose.
Suck on.
I can't. You guys weren't watching Charlie Rose? What were you?
I didn't start watching until he got canceled. Once he got canceled, I was just like, it's probably because he was spitting too much truth.
Yeah. No, I really wasn't watching much. I mean, I think we like got bootleg, like Russian Xena warrior princess from like the local Afghan bazaar. Like I was watching a lot of that. There's like Hercules.
What tunes were blasting in the tank? Pantera, Sepultura.
I mean, I definitely prefer Sepultura to Pantera, but I mean that was also when Kesha
Roots. Bloody roots. Those are the only 3 lyrics I know of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's most of the lyrics to Roots, Bloody Roots. It's just Roots, Bloody Roots. Yeah. But I think that Kesha was really big at the time.
Sure.
Nothing gets the boys turned up for a direct action night raid like This Place About to Blow.
Yeah,
sure. That too.
Yeah. So
just trying to keep it light.
Yeah. Just trying to have some fun out there.
During just got to keep it light during an illegal war, illegal occupational war.
So you came back, you went to college, you started seeing drone strikes and being like, hey, this seems illegal and bad. And at what point did you start publicly talking about this? Was it after October 7th that you started talking about things like having an online profile?
It had to be if you had any kind of moral conscience. I mean, for me, it would have been when Obama threatened the Jonas Brothers with a drone strike.
Yeah, that was the first time.
That was some really deep state stuff. So if I even mentioned it, I know I would have been taken out.
100%.
So
100%.
You know, I think pissing off 8200 and being on one of their lists is much safer than trying to stop the assassination of the Jonas Brothers.
Absolutely.
So explain what's 8200.
8200's like their straight up information operations militarized Hasbara. It's part of the
what is it? Their address?
No, it's their it's their military intelligence wing. It's called Unit 8200. And so they basically mine the internet for any pro-Palestine or not even pro-Palestine, just like anti-child slaughter influencers, and you get put on a list.
This is a United States military intelligence unit, or
no, it's
Israeli.
Yeah, it's called.
Oh,
but
I didn't know that. I've never heard about this. That's crazy.
Unit 8200. One of the women who did the Screams Without Silence article, I forget which one. She had links to Unit 8200. So they're the big information operations propaganda wing.
I don't remember my Hebrew numbers. Shmonim v'shtayim meot, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Hey, it's all Greek to me.
So, and I don't know. They're just propagandists, and I like beefing with them. And yes, the Israeli intelligence apparatus collects heavily on American citizens.
I wanted to ask you about what exactly happened to make you realize that this Hasbara, at least in the American media regarding the war, was just complete lies that they were saying to you in order to playing off of people's ignorance of military, the way the military works in terms of how big the bombs you're allowed to drop on civilian populated areas and whatnot.
Right. So I've definitely witnessed United States forces commit objectively what amounts to war crimes. So I'm not being an apologist here, but around like October 13th, I was like, goddamn, they're making us look like the good guys, because the moral equivalence is so insane between the two, and the double standards are so. There's such a great distance between U.S. conduct, and as bad as that is, and then what the IDF is doing. So first of all, I was tracking what was going on in Palestine before this happened. I started to understand what Israel was through military literature. The first operational autopsy I ever read was that in the 2000, it was the official position of a U.S. Army War College out of Fort Leavenworth that the IDF got its ass kicked in 2006 by Hezbollah, when Hezbollah was way less powerful than they are now. And that kind of started, and that was in like 2009. So I had like years to start deconstructing the propaganda that I got pushed when I was like a white kid in boarding school with like Zionist roommates, or like a white kid in Texas around a bunch of Christian evangelicals. I was like, okay. So it was through military literature, being like, yeah, they're kind of an incompetent conscript army. All we do is give them weapons. We send advisors to train them on stuff, but they don't listen to anybody. So that's kind of how it started. And then I was like, oh wait, this is technically apartheid. This is definitely, according to international law, occupation. So, and I knew about how bad it was going to be, the response after the escalation on October 7th. Yes. It wasn't an act of war. It was an escalation. I mean, objectively, the conflict was still ongoing. To say that it was an act of war or there was a peace is absurd. So the escalation on October 7th happened. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be bad. They're going to use their Da'iya doctrine, which it basically is collective punishment of civilians in order to pressure the associated militant population into laying down arms or giving political concessions that they don't want to give. So it's like, okay, yes, they're literally, their military doctrine is a war crime. It's the collective punishment of the civilians. Right. So I knew it was going to be bad. I had no idea how bad it was going to be, because they started doing things that I hadn't seen them do, at least not in 2014. During Operation Protective Edge and stuff. They were just straight up. They weren't carpet bombing. That's the wrong term.
Right.
But they were targeting. They were
prayer rug bombing. Like
sure,
yeah. So they were dropping ordnance that I know that we could. My best friend was a fire controls officer in Baghdad during the Iraq War. He like, and then I did kinetic strike targeting in Afghanistan. It's like we can't drop those ordnance. Like we would be in jail. So and they're just dropping it on the most densely populated civilian place on Earth, and there's something called like a collateral damage estimate and collateral damage methodology that you do,
right?
And they just weren't doing it. I would say it's inaccurate for the most part to say that they weren't targeting Hamas. I mean, they were. They just don't care about casualties at all. In fact, the more the better. So getting targeting data on a GPS location off of like a Hamas guy or a resistance fighter's cell phone, and he's like in an apartment building with hundreds of people, well, they're just going to drop the apartment building, the entirety of it.
Right.
So that's how they do things. We wouldn't, because they refuse to do special operations. So, because I was in a special operations unit, every time I would have to go and interrupt my Star Wars marathon or Game of Thrones marathon or Harry Potter marathon, it was because there was some like Al-Qaeda or Taliban guy in a guest house that was attached to a civilian building, and that becomes a dual-use facility. So a dual-use facility is one that has a civilian function and a military function. If there's militants in it, it becomes a dual-use. And based off of our engagement parameters during Obama's surge, which was like one of the bloodiest periods of the Afghan war, we still couldn't drop it. So you'd have to send in a special operations force, which is thought to reduce civilian casualties because like we're somewhat competent. And like not air-holing kids like the IDF snipers are, to go and minimize that and still get the target. But they refuse to do special operations, mostly because they're a conscript army that can't fight. But yeah, so that's just one aspect.
Do you need special zoning for a dual-use facility?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Do they have the permits for it? Is the thing.
Look, I mean, we all know that fascists love to weaponize bureaucracy.
Absolutely.
That's a great point. They didn't have the permits for a dual-use facility. So Al-Shifa Hospital did not have the permits.
Yeah, if you don't get the permit for dual use, then we're just going to kill everybody. That's kind of
they didn't have the permit for single use either. The single use being saving people's lives and training doctors. I still am hung up on when you described. I didn't know. I mean, I know that Israel sends people all over the world, South America, U.S. cities, inner cities, to train, police forces. I didn't realize that we send them foreign advisors and they don't listen. And I just have to imagine like a comedy sketch where it's just a bunch of Israelis with their feet up on the table, and there's like a foreign advisor who's really trying to like get them to improve their game and be like, look, you guys got your asses kicked in 2006. The Gaza operation isn't going the way, and them just being like, do you live here?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. Have you even been on birthright?
Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish?
Are you Jewish? Yeah. It's just like a Hillel guy or a Chabad guy just comes up. Are you even Jewish? So, mother or father?
Gentlemen, the building is surrounded. Okay, Are you Jewish?
You don't know what it's like. Have you had Disco MDMA pizza? Thank you, Adam. Yeah, so you talk about like the incompetency of the Israeli army, of the IDF, and I think that a lot of the propaganda around the IDF in Western media has been how competent they are. Like the entire narrative has been, this is the most technologically amazing army in the world. They don't just have soldiers; they have like super soldiers who can, have a chip in their head that's basically the Waze app, and they can tell you, where exactly to go, and they have cameras everywhere, so they know every single thing that's going on in Gaza at all times.
They're all like, are you Sarah Connor?
Yeah, so. Exactly. I'll use Sarah Connor. I think this, for anyone who's been paying attention for a while, you've kind of have known pre-October 7th that the IDF, the propaganda around them being the best army in the world, is bullshit. Mm-hmm. But now it seems to be more and more on display. Can you explain to me how what exactly you see in that army that makes them more incompetent than, let's say, the United States Army.
And if you can try to do it in a way that doesn't contain any helpful hints for them on how to improve.
Yeah. Don't tell them how to be better.
Oh God.
Just insult them and discourage them and bring them down. No constructive criticism, please.
Yeah.
Look, if they're not listening to official U.S. military liaisons, they're not going to be listening to Hasbara bad Hasbara for advice. I mean, hey, you guys got an awesome thing going on, but if they're not listening to them, they're not. Well, they don't listen to anybody.
They're only listening to this to try to find something to get us canceled on.
They're crowdfunding to try and create. Yeah, they're crowdfunding to try and create a good Hasbara podcast.
That's right.
Not going well.
I think Elon Levy's trying that, and it's not going well.
No.
Yeah.
All right, but to Matt's question.
Okay, here we go. This is one of my favorite subjects. It's actually really not hard to understand why they suck so much. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, they're conscripts. They're not professional soldiers. So, they do like 2 years, right? That's the general draft. Essentially, it's a 2-year term of service. Guess what? You are still in the military after 2 years. You're still a dumbass private. That's like not even long enough to know how to do your job. Like I didn't become a non-commissioned officer until like I was like 3 years in.
Right.
One of my buddies, he was a West Point major in the artillery. He didn't become major until he was like 33. They've got 25-year-old majors running around. It's like you don't have the amount of maturity or both like mentally, intellectually, or emotionally to like be running an entire battalion of dudes like at 25. Are you kidding me?
Admiral McFly.
Yeah.
No, straight up. It's the first time I started realizing this was when I would see the lists of casualties that, either from October 7th who were IDF soldiers or past that. And they would have their name, rank, and age, and it would just be like, Major General Lieb, 19, and I'm like, why do they have so many major generals, and why are they all dead?
Oh my God, we're gonna have
privates at all.
We're gonna have to do a Gilbert and Sullivan parody now. I am the perfect model of an Israeli major general. I am the perfect model of a Sabra major general.
Oh, damn it! All right,
okay, I'm on
Write it down. We're doing it.
I'm on it. I am on it.
Fucking musical theater.
Yeah.
All right. So you go on, please, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the insane like youth, the infancy of these like field grade officers or like senior non-commissioned officers. It's still like 2 years, and you know what? I'm not sure. I've talked to some people that are disillusioned IDF guys that are associated with like breaking the silence and stuff.
Sure.
It's like, there's kind of like, from my understanding, an unspoken tradition of like buying commissions in some ways. Like if you have political contacts, you're going to become like a major, so it's like all the senior officers are for some reason looking very European, and like all the dirt pounders are not.
Right.
So it does seem like there's some like 19th century British Army buying your commission type thing going on through like a political appointments and stuff.
Oh, good. So that's not just a Jewish coded thing, like other like white Goyim have done that, right?
Yes,
I was getting nervous.
Yeah. He was about to accuse you of anti-Semitism.
No, I was about to accuse anti-Semites of being like maybe right sometimes.
So you're gonna accuse yourself of anti-Semitism.
I'm gonna
yeah. So buying your commission was a big thing in the British Empire. So my ancestors were all about that. And that's another thing. So you could, it seems like because if you look at the officers that have died through like resistance sniper operations, it's like, oh, they have a family connection to someone like inside the Knesset or like part of like a government organization, and they're well-to-do, and they have these political connections. It's like, okay, so that's where their officer corps is. It's not coming from like a meritocracy. It's coming from, just like what happens under most like fascist systems or, authoritarian systems.
Yeah.
Keep it all in the party, baby. All in the party.
Nepo genocide. Nepo genocidist. Well, I mean, it's a good way to sort of equalize or pay them back for, I don't know, killing Sinwar's infant twin daughters or whoever the fuck. I mean, they always end up just obliterating entire families. They send their own families in, and they're the ones, the fail sons who get
sniped. Get the
failed to a permanent end.
Compromised. Yeah.
By the way, I love military speak, man. When you're talking about kinetic strikes and like, no, it's such a weird, cool, horrifying subset of the lingo. Like when you talked about you guys have an assault team. Like I would love to see like a Fortune 500 corporation that has an assault team, the VP for assault.
I think I don't know. I think you might be beefing with like HR quite often.
No, they would just have a special policy for it. They would investigate themselves just like the IDF. And speaking of IDF, guys, so I've noticed that sometimes, Greg, and by the way, your last name Stoker reminds me of a joke I made on Twitter. There's a group called Stop Anti-Semitism, and they posted about how Meta has a new policy that you can't say Zionist. And I said this group should be called Stoke Anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I got that.
Oh hey! Oh my God, Matt, you have that right on hand.
That was the luckiest break I've ever had on this podcast.
Holy shit!
It was right there on screen.
So that amazing. So that was a tangent to a tangent to a tangent.
Yeah.
Sometimes you say IDF, and sometimes in your post you say IOF, right? Israeli Occupation Force. I think we need to diversify. We need to do the whole damn alphabet. So let's play a game. I'm going to do an I something letter, and you tell me what it stands for, okay?
Yeah.
IRF.
Israel. Well, hey, there's a canceled term that's still.
You started with the hardest one, man.
Yeah, the I.
There are other R words in the language.
Can we call it the ISAF? Then SA is a little easier. Otherwise, okay. There's other R words. God, so once you have the one in your head, it's hard to move it around.
IGF.
Yeah, Israeli Goon Force.
There we go.
Goon Force. Yeah, exactly. Great.
That's, by the way, the Israeli Goon Force. They just are masturbating in front of their computer for a long time. That's what gooning is.
But to their own TikToks.
To their own TikToks. Yeah. We are so funny.
You get the game. I won't do the rest of the alphabet, but people can play at home.
Yeah.
With your kids around the dinner table.
Yeah, that's a fun game to play with kids.
So I've ruined. I apologize for ruining the R1.
No, you didn't. It was my first thought too.
Okay.
I actually can't think of one either. It's crazy.
It's really hard.
By the end of this podcast, and whoever gets it, just blurt it out. We're going to come up with, because we have to be providing people with other options for that word, for that letter. There's only 26 letters in the alphabet. Okay, we can't start. It's like F. N. We need to have options. Okay.
Yeah. So just to kind of round out the subject of the incompetency of the IRF,
Israeli Remedial Force.
Oh, see, that's good. That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
But that implies that they get retrained. They don't get retrained.
Yeah. But you talk about their incompetency, that you read this report in one of your military magazines that you read, I assume, or sort of memo.
It's open source. Like
it was an open. Okay,
I can actually post it to the chat right now.
Oh, great.
So keep going.
But you read one regarding the 2006 Lebanon campaign, in which Israel got their ass whooped by Hezbollah, and the whole narrative around that was like, how can we be losing? Look at what we're doing to them. Look at how our kill ratio. It was like, we're killing all of them.
Guys, in honor of our paymasters, can we call them the Party of God, please? That's their proper name, Hezbollah.
Yeah, Hezbollah, the Party of God. Thank you. Shout out to our main producer, Hassan Nasrallah. We love you, homie. But yeah, what did you see in this report regarding the 2006 Lebanon campaign that wasn't so much reported in the Western media? And
Well, first of all, the one thing that wasn't reported was that there were like more than 2 Israeli casualties. Another thing that wasn't reported was that there were an insane number of casualties in Beirut, especially in the Daya neighborhood. So, by the way, I posted in the private chat the report. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, nothing has changed. If you go through this report, knowing what you've seen of the Israeli military from October 7th to the present day, it's the same thing. Okay, so right now we're seeing videos of either like PIJ or Hamas or whatever front is operating in Gaza, literally running up to tanks, placing EFPs, explosively formed penetrators, which cut through anything, destroying tanks, and no one's guarding the tanks.
Right.
It's such a good video game level. Oh my God. Like you need to be hiding in a bombed out building. You gotta get in there, get the thing in there,
Yeah.
You get stealth points.
When I see these videos, I think I have a reaction similar to yours, or maybe my reaction is painted by watching your videos, which is like, how is it that easy to run up to a tank, plant an explosive in the middle of it, like inside of it, and then run back into a hole? And is this kind of like asymmetrical warfare gonna
especially when the tank is there ostensibly looking for you?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you read this report that I just posted, they refuse to have infantry in support of the armor. So there's something in military terminology, it's like basic 101 stuff you should learn within days of like war college. It's called.
Sorry, Greg. But before you get to that, infantry is a word I've never understood. Based on the IDF's approach in Gaza, I'm assuming it means being trained to kill infants. Yes.
Yes, it also means you are an infant. So,
it's baby on baby crime.
Yeah, baby on baby crime.
Well,
actually, no, that was back during like the late Middle Ages when they were using child soldiers. We've just kept the term, but now it means killing infants. So, which means they're not in a they're dismounted. They're riflemen.
Matt, you saw that joke coming, right? That was.
I knew it immediately, and I almost, I almost said, "Hey, let him finish talking." But I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna let Daniel do his thing."
The power to mute me,
I do, but I'm not a dictator. So, Greg, please continue.
So you'd have the dismounted baby killer people supporting the baby killer people within tanks, because tanks are made to shoot tank shells and take out larger targets, hard sites, other tanks. They're not really good at being anti-personnel, like taking out people who just run up to them. So you need to have people protecting the tanks. So I don't know, people can't run up and slap a bomb on the tank.
That is interesting.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I had never considered that fact before. It's like, tanks are supposed to battle other tanks.
Yeah.
They're not. In this case, they just go into this area that is tankless, and they're like, shell that building. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, no. Well, to be fair, tanks are also meant to like be a heavy fires platform that can take out like a sniper position or something.
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah. But yes, the bottom line is you need infantry to protect them from other infantry. It's called combined arms. You're using different combat arms to work with each other. Israel cannot achieve combined arms. So they stay buttoned up in their tanks because they're scared to walk around, because what they've done is create Stalingrad. Just like literally they from World War II, one of the biggest military blunders in history was the Nazis going in, bombing the shit out of Stalingrad, neutralizing the one big advantage they had over the Soviets, which was their mechanized corps, their tanks. Well, tanks can drive over just about anything, except they thought it was going to be Stalingrad, but it's not.
Stalling, rad. That's sure. Adam Levin.
Go ahead.
So after my own heart.
So what can't tanks really drive over? Rubble, because rubble will make them start throwing tracks. So they neutralize their one big advantage, which is why you see all these bulldozers driving through Gaza trying to clear channels of maneuvering so they can get their tanks around because they just bombed it to shit just like the Germans did during Stalingrad, and they neutralized their biggest advantage because they're
so what
idiots.
do they have in common psychologically? Like I'm trying to pin, like I'm
kill
always
them
looking
all.
for like what. So kill them all, but like, is there also a kind of cowardice? Is there like they don't know how to say "I've got your back" in Hebrew? A kind of inability to work as a team? Like, what is that mentality that would stop you from having someone there with you to support what you're doing? Is it arrogance? Because I'm trying to, obviously, like our minds, many of our minds are on like what, why, how are the Israelis different from the Nazis, but like because they do give, Third Reich energy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I'd say because of the post-mortem semen extraction, they're giving like Fourth Reich eugenics energy.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
that's another level of a different video game.
Yeah. It's like that in between level in Street Fighter where you just break the car apart, except that you're extracting the cum out of a dead guy.
It's called Come Hither.
Yeah. But like, do you, when you see something like a tank that is completely unguarded being run up upon by,
dude in flip-flops.
Dude in flip-flops and blowing it up, what do you, in your experience, like what are you seeing there in terms of the mindset of the higher ups at the IDF?
Well, first of all, so first of all, what I see is like they don't want to get out of their tanks because they're scared. First of all, they're scared. And what it tells me about like the higher ups is the Israeli military has a very low tolerance for casualties. Like they're deeply affected by, I don't know if it's some chosen people shit going on. But Israeli society has a very low tolerance for dead soldiers.
For military casualties.
Yes. Let me clarify that.
Different game when it comes to the people who aren't currently serving.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Because their entire casus belli, their cause for war, their moral justification is like all built up on propaganda. If people stop thinking that they're this big badass military, they're going to start getting scared. They're going to start questioning it. Well, and this is why there's a gag order in Israeli media on casualty figures. The only time they're really honest about what's happening is when there's a mass casualty event where there's like 3 or more dudes killed, and they can't because people are like watching hospitals. They can't hide it, so they get ahead of it. But if it's just like 1 or 2 guys, they can maybe sweep it under the rug. So whatever their casualty figures are, they're not it. Because everything's based on, and we touched on this earlier, the idea that Israel has this big bad military. Well, it doesn't. No one in the know had ever thought it has, and they were basically banking off their deterrence capacity, scaring everybody in the region into not wanting to mess with them through sustained multi-generational propaganda. So like the Mossad is all-knowing. They know what you had for breakfast.
Right.
And their military is awesome, but they didn't have the architecture to even deal with October 7th, and the Mossad ignored it, and Shin Bet dropped the ball. So October 7th has completely shattered their deterrence capacity, and they can't get it back. In order to get it back, they'd have to defeat Hamas, which they can't. And if you can't defeat Hamas, you definitely can't defeat Hezbollah. So they're kind of screwed. They're not going to get it back. And that feeds back into they need to try to find some way to maintain it. That's why they have a gag order on casualties. That's why they have a very low threshold for sustaining casualties. That's why they always stay buttoned up on in their tanks. But that's not actually how you fight a war. That's not how you take ground. That's not how you clear tunnels. That's not how you control objectives. It's not how you really do anything except roll around shooting rubble in tanks
and killing people for the sake of killing people.
This lends credence to my theory about the TikToks. There's a lot of perplexity on a lot of people's parts. Like, how can they be doing this? It's such bad PR. I recently saw a film called Israel's Real Extremism, REEL.
Right.
Basically 40 minutes of just looking at how Israeli media is replaying these TikToks, and it occurs to me that Hasbara is no longer for the outside world anymore. It's about keeping morale up.
Sure.
Among the Israeli public. That's the ones they need to convince now. And that's a huge turn. I mean, they always had to propagandize their people, but in terms of inoculating themselves against anyone getting wise, it's the threat is coming from inside the villa in the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. And so you'll see a lot of symbolic operations. So last month when they did the Nuseirat refugee camp massacre, they rescued 4 hostages, first time, right? Then they killed a whole bunch of Palestinians. Most of them were not Hamas, because what they do, they got the hostages out, and then they just like activate all containment boxes, drop everything, and so everything in the neighborhood gets like dropped with a bomb or a missile or something.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
You're telling me that the sequence of events was hostages exfiltrated, hostages safe, then kill a bunch of Palestinians? That's how it happened?
It happened during exfil. It happened when they were leaving. That's what we do know. So it doesn't seem, because like based off of the video footage that the IDF released, which is very tailored and doctored, there were no airstrikes going on during the operation. There didn't even seem to be any gunfire. It's hard to determine. There's a lot of fog of war stuff going on, but all the ordnance apparently was dropped during the exfil. So there's
Yossi, how did the hostages get out? How did the operation go? It was entirely bloodless and peaceful. You schmuck, drop the bombs now.
People will think we are pussies.
But the reason I bring this up as a case study is because they rescued the hostages, and anybody who thinks about these things operationally or tactically is like, that was really dumb, because now that you got those 4 hostages, you are never rescuing another hostage again, because those hostages were being kept above ground, so they could be like maintain a certain level of health, so when they're released to the Israelis, it'd be a good PR victory for Hamas. So now they're going into the tunnels, and they're not going to be found again. So it was a PR victory meant for the Israeli people to be like, see, we can actually get hostages back. So bear with us for another 7 months while we bomb the shit out of Gaza, even though anyone who knows anything knows that Hamas will not allow, even if they have to kill hostages now, hostages to get back. So it was just a PR stunt.
They killed the golden goose.
Yeah. And now it's done.
And it did seem like part of the propaganda was also watching people's reaction to the giant number of Palestinian casualties that happened as a result of trying to rescue these 4 captives, and going, see, they hate it when we're free, as opposed to, no, people hate it when you kill 200 people in order to save 4 people who could have been released in a, diplomatic exchange. Like, that's what people actually hate. But it's as soon as people saw how big the casualty number was of Palestinian civilians, people started being mad about it, and they were like, good, we want you to be mad about it so we can convince our own people that they hate it when we're free.
They weren't mad. They were just triggered.
They were just triggered.
Yeah. And I rarely interact with Zionists anymore. I used to get like early this year. I mean, it kind of like fizzled off. So I don't really like engage in like debates or talk much with them. But we were just at this stolen land auction up here in Queens Sunday. And it was in front of this like 4-story mansion. It's like, oh my God, you can pay property taxes on a 4-story mansion in Queens. You probably don't need someone else's land, but so
but this one wasn't in a synagogue. It wasn't in a place of worship.
It was not.
That's decent of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was nice, but they did it because they were trying to keep it secret. But like, we got people on this that's all they do.
They'll do it in a children's hospital in Queens next.
Yeah. So, I saw
the lunchroom in a cancer ward, pediatric cancer ward.
Yeah. Look at these pro-Palestine terrorists brutalizing these children.
They hate when children are being cured of cancer. It's like, no, why did you hold this fucking auction here?
So, anyways, like, what's amazing to me is like the Hasbara I was experiencing there, because this guy wanted to talk to me.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, sure, dude, whatever. I'll answer like questions. I have a question for you. Do you know anything about the Middle East? I was like, yeah, I mean, I do. Have you ever been there? I was like, yeah, I've been through. I also did 4 combat deployments to Afghanistan. I have a pretty good understanding of like politics of the region and stuff. He's like, okay, well, did you know that in 2005, the Gazans voted for Hamas. I was like, dude, we're done with that. We got past that in November. Like, how are you guys still on this?
It is insane having to have the same conversation over and over again with people. Like, it's always a new person every time who wants to spit Hasbara 101 at you. And you're just like, I literally can't have this conversation again. Read a book. Like, at that point, it's
it's like a team that got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs showing up in the semifinals or the finals and heckling from the crowd. Oh, so you think you can play? Huh?
Yeah.
The team that
it's just so it's so disingenuous too, because the idea that these people have not heard the counter argument is ridiculous. Of course they have. They just are like, well, no, I'm here to waste your time.
Well, that's kind of what it is.
In which case they just got out of the pods and they only have one setting.
Yeah. So I think, like, I don't know. There's the uniformity of it was something I didn't expect, though. But there's no difference of opinion. There's no shades of ways to approach it. It's the same talking points. And it's like they haven't adapted at all over the past 9 months. It hasn't become any more sophisticated. So it was just really easy to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm sure the 20,000 children that have been murdered in kinetic strikes totally voted for Hamas. They were totally around to vote for Hamas in 2005.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like, so the inability to adapt just makes me seem like it's not going to last forever. But then again, my family's German. Still have some really problematic beliefs.
Yeah, man.
So
the font on that T-shirt is giving me Gothic Saxon. It's giving me Saxony, you know.
Well, I mean, it's Merciful Fate, actually a Norwegian metal band from the 80s. So.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Do they really spell merciful that way, with the Y instead of the I?
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, just like the same way Korn spells it with a K and a backwards R. Come on, man. That's how metal works, even new metal.
So I mean, all I just wanted to finish up with that is, like,
yes, please.
These supremacists, these ethno supremacist ideologies, they don't just go away, unfortunately. In fact, like in Germany, nobody fascist like my people, and the neo-Nazi shit's making a hard comeback. So yes, I don't think Zionism, unfortunately, is going anywhere anytime soon either.
Yeah, no, and I think what's going to happen with regard to the sort of right-wing neo-fascist love of Israel turning into a right-wing Christian nationalist hatred of Israel, or some sort of secular neo-Nazi shit. Like there's a lot of confluence of different forms of anti-Semitism that are very worrying for me, because I don't see anything from the left that even gets close to the amount of, like, at least on Twitter, especially since Elon's taken over, the amount of, like, right-wing fascist like hatred of Israel that feels like they're using Palestinians in order to just launder their own anti-Semitism. And it just
they're jealous. They want America to be the one murdering.
Right, exactly.
By getting these Jews to do the middleman work for us and charge us interest.
Yeah, but before we continue this conversation, I have been told I have to take a break for ads, and I know that, so I'm going to do it. Adam, I'm sorry it took this long. I'm sorry to everyone who wanted to listen to advertisements. And they're
just buy the shit. Just buy the shit.
Yeah, please. Whatever's, just buy it. Unless it's on the BDS list, don't buy it. And we're back. Wonderful ads. We're here with Greg Stoker, who is telling us about Israel and the military and kinetic strikes. But I want to ask you some further questions regarding a recent thing that happened in the news. So apparently somebody tried to shoot Trump.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
I heard it. I read about it in some girl's blog. Seemed interesting. Seemed important.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, oh, okay. That sounds interesting. And I watched the video and I was like, oh shit, someone tried to kill Trump. And I feel like it's led to a weird feeling the last few days of people who don't know how to publicly talk about this in any way that either won't get them in trouble or will in which they can say anything that is of substance. Mostly people are just going, damn, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers to the person we've been calling Hitler for the last 8 years.
Yeah, so thoughts and prayers to the person who is an existential threat to all of us. There's no place for violence. If Hitler was alive, you know, we wouldn't want him dead. Is essentially what that means.
Right.
If they were telling the truth, their response would be, damn.
Yeah.
Well, you know, lost. Like November is cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess from my what I like to say is, like, when it comes to like Hitler, violence against Hitler, I'm just kind of like, hey guys, follow your leader, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
There's
exactly.
Completely different rhetoric surrounding this, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have some video of it. Obviously, you know, the Bad Hasbara podcast wishes nothing but a speedy recovery for the ex-president, a wonderful man who deserves nothing but the best. And I just want to play the video because it's a shocking video.
Take a look at what happened.
Suck my dick. Suck my own fucking dick. You don't need my butter. Suck my dick. Won't you please suck on my dick? Suck my dick. Eat my dick.
I don't know who added that dick. I did not add that dick. I'm going to blame that on producer Adam. We are a respectful podcast.
Should we describe for the podcast listeners and the visually impaired what that was, Matt?
Yes,
which
that was
so much work into.
Yes.
Describe your work. Show your work, Matt.
Okay, that was Trump on the ground with his ear bleeding, and Ben Flores, a comedy writer, superimposed a dick into his mouth. And I just think that is wrong.
I just want to say I'm not happy Trump got shot, and I am happy he didn't get killed. I think a civil war would have ensued. I think presidential assassinations are fucked up, including former presidential assassinations. And if I was going to be happy about his death, I'd have to wish death on a lot of other people, and I just can't afford that. But I will say, given that it was a head turn, could he have lost the full ear? I just think that would have been badass.
Yeah.
Give him the Reservoir Dogs treatment. Then you could have played Stuck in the Middle with You for that. Give him the Van Gogh. And I don't know. I just think that it just felt a little bit half-assed, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Offended.
I mean, yeah. Well, the thing that strikes me is there's response from the liberal world, the world of the libs, we should say. You know, they abhor political violence, but
hate it.
You know, they also control the way you define political violence. So, like, basically, no free healthcare, no affordable housing, like that. That's not violence. The impoverishment and the imprisoning of the American population, not political violence. Criminalizing homelessness, so you get like an exploited labor population to compete with China, not political violence.
Yep.
Sending 2,000-pound bombs to Gaza, not political violence.
No, yeah. No,
that's,
the only
that's
political
policy.
Yeah, that's just good economics. That's just good market economics. No.
You know, Obama did us a favor. He had a tweet saying, "This kind of political violence is unacceptable."
Yes.
Okay.
Other kinds of political violence are acceptable. I mean, listen, if you didn't want to die, you shouldn't have been born in Gaza. I think we can all agree with that. You know,
hey man, takes a village.
Takes a village.
Or Ferguson.
Yeah, or Ferguson or Flint. If you didn't want to get lead poisoning, you shouldn't have been drinking water in Flint. So yeah, it was just one of those instances where I saw it and it was nothing but depressing when I saw it. And the reason it was depressing was obviously there's a multitude of reasons. But one of the biggest ones was just if you to quote Omar Little, if you come at the king, you best not miss. And I felt like it was, one of those decisions that you make in your life where you go like, if you're gonna do it, to fail
Just go ahead.
it.
Quote George Michael: "If you're gonna do it right."
That's right. And I'm not saying he should do it. I am not pro assassination, but I think in my head, I'm like, well, if I have to choose the type of political violence, to quote Barack Obama, politicians versus proletariat, I choose politician political violence way before I choose proletariat political violence. I mean, especially if the policies are, of the politicians are the ones causing the death and malnutrition and despair of the vast majority of the population. Then, I mean, if I have to choose. Well,
if only there was a slight head turn the proletariat could make to escape the brunt of the violence against them.
If only something just nicked our ear instead of bankrupting us from medical debt.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, one of my big issues with the response from the Joe Biden and the Democrat, the DNC, is, first of all, Joe Biden, during his Oval Office statement, couldn't pronounce ballot box. It's like, this needs to be settled.
Battle bots.
Hell yeah, battle box. I'm all about battle boxes. Second of all, it's all BS. If Trump would have gotten assassinated, they would have been like, oh, this is horrible. Like, what's this country coming to? We're better than this. We abhor violence of any kind. And then they would have been like,
we are.
Yeah.
This is the worst. This is the worst of both worlds for them, because now they have to deal with a reborn. And in fact, it's very possible some right-wing commentator, maybe it was Rod Dreher, one of these guys, some Christian conservative, was looking at a picture of Trump or footage of Trump at the Milwaukee convention. He's in the audience now,
Right.
And someone was praising him, and he was nodding along and smiling. And someone was like, "You see, he's softened. There's vulnerability. He's been reborn." And actually, that's a possibility, that there could be this kind of, we could see a new kind of pious fascist, which would be very dangerous indeed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if John Fetterman can have a stroke that makes him a Zionist, then Trump can have an ear nick that turns him into a nice guy. Anything is possible with these, these medical things. But I wanted to touch on, there was, at least as far as I know, one death in the crowd, not Trump.
A real friend of Palestine bit the dust.
Yes, and that was the thing. It was a Pennsylvania firefighter named Corey Comparatore. And when I heard someone else had died, other than the shooter, I was like, oh man, that sucks, right? And then people started posting shit from his Twitter, and I just realized, like, shit posting, the problem with it is if you die, your tweets live on forever.
Well, what was it saying?
So this is Piers Morgan in October is asking, where are these Palestinians going to live after the war is over? This is after a story that says over 1 million people have fled their homes in Gaza. And where are they going to go? Piers asks. And the firefighter says, they'll get over it. Get over it. The Japanese did. And, it's just one of those things where it's this guy was just at a thing and he got shot.
Father of two.
It is actually a tragedy. But when you see that tweet, you just kind of go like,
your kids will get over it. The Japanese did.
Yeah. You can't help it.
Okay. Yeah. Their children will get over it. But you know what? We can say that because Japanese children, Palestinian children, it sucks. I mean, that's just war. They'll get over it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, is this this is exactly the Twitter post you would expect from someone who was at a Trump rally too. So
yeah, and someone who got the tickets to be right behind him, you know,
Yeah.
like someone who got the "I'm going to be on camera" treatment. Yeah, you just
do you think when the bullet entered his whatever part of his body it did, it was covered in like Trump ear?
Oh, maybe that would be.
Did he die with Trump's body inside of him?
I mean, hopefully, if he did, he knew that he'll always be with him.
I think that's called Republican communion.
Crazy Jews.
We're crazy Jews over here, dog.
We have to ask Greg about the operational security failure at the assassination, right? It's kind of off
that's
the
right.
grid of our topic, but I mean, you want to talk about incompetent defense forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we should touch on this. Basically, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think everything that happened could just be explained satisfactorily by just massive police incompetence because, they're cops. And if we want them to be better at their job, we need to give them more money. Like, actually fund them. Okay.
How about fund the police?
How about actually funding the police?
Instead of defund, how about fund?
Fund the police coming straight from the underground.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if we don't want this thing to happen in the future, I mean, we're joking, of course, but they're going to use this opportunity to really fund the police because all the politicians are going to be like, "Oh my God, we need protection," and all the cops are going to be like, "We want more money. Do you want to do a deal?" And we're like, "Yeah, we want to do a deal. Sign the appropriations bill." So, yes, we need to fund the police more. And then this won't happen. We could also just have police, IQ tests, and this also wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Well, listen. Once you start doing IQ tests for police, then all of a sudden we don't have any more police. Dog. I mean, come on. Might as well, ask them to take a psychological exam. Put a picture of their wife in front of them and say, like, "What are your feelings right now?" And if you say, "I want to hit her," then you can't be a cop, and then you have no cops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Personally, I think the thin blue line should be representative on the flag of like all the blue. Like 40% of the flag should be blue for the domestic violence complaints. But anyways,
100%.
You are working with three different organizations, like multiple different organizations, who are all cops essentially. You got the FBI, you got the Secret Service, who do work for the Department of Treasury. You have local and state law enforcement, and they're all working together at this event. So you have multiple departments working in tandem together, and they're not communicating well. And, it's not unbelievable for me that this random dude just walks up, finds a ladder. Either he pre-staged it or a maintenance guy left it there and they didn't pick it up on their sweep. And so the civilians are like, hey, first of all, there should have been a law enforcement officer on top of the building. We're not going to get into we don't have enough time to get into the whole like semantics of what went down. But the police officer was informed that there was a guy on the roof with a gun. He calls it up to the tactical operations center where all these liaisons from different departments are working. The local law enforcement guy tells the Secret Service guy, hey, there's a guy on the roof. We need to check him out. Secret Service guy calls the counter sniper team on the roof. They reorient to look at the guy. Now,
meanwhile, rally goers are pointing and talking to each other and saying, there's a guy on the roof. No, look, he's just up there. He's just sitting there.
Right. They look at him. Here's one thing that actually could happen. This is a legitimate thing. They could be like, okay, is it some sheriff's deputy that didn't tell anybody he was going up onto the roof and he has a gun and he's in plain clothes? That does happen.
Right.
Okay, call back to the tactical operations center. Be like, hey, is everybody accounted for? Does anybody have a guy on this roof? And they're just like, and they probably don't have accountability of where all those people are. So there's actually some confusion.
Right.
Born of incompetence, both in the planning of not having a guy covering that roof, and two, just having poor communications. Where this is, for me, explainable. Like Harlan's razor, don't attribute to malice, which could be attributed to stupidity. Having worked in special operations and for the government at a really high level or high operational capacity level, I've seen some really dumb stuff happen. So,
that's a new razor. I've never heard of this. I know Occam.
Yeah, this one's a simpler one. It's
even simpler than Occam.
Even simpler than Occam.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a Menachem's razor.
That's the one the IDF uses. Don't use that razor.
You don't want that one.
I just know Gillette's.
Yeah, those are great razors, dude. Yeah. So it does seem like one of those like strategically bad ideas where because anytime you see like the president speak, I mean, if I haven't been to many events, or have I? Oh no, I went to the inauguration of Trump in 2016 for work, and I there are snipers on the roofs, and you just kind of go, I assume that's not a guy who's going to kill the president. Like you just, as a regular, attendee, you're just like, I assume everyone with guns here is looking for bad guys with guns.
But I've never been to a Trump rally. I'm not that interested or intellectually curious about what goes on, but I imagine that crazy white dudes walking around with guns, climbing random things, rolling around in the mud, eating grass or whatever is not something that's beyond the pale.
Yeah. No, yeah. I love how I was like, guy with guns quickly turns into just ravenous hog in the grass, rolling around, licking his balls. He's just like, I assume, just shoveling funnel cake into the mouth and just masturbating to pictures of Hitler. It's like, yeah, Trump stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Groyper crowd, some right wingers have already figured out who to blame this on, and it's the DEI movement, because
that's right.
There were women in the Secret Service detail.
The funniest take that I've seen.
It almost makes too much sense.
Exactly. It's too good. Yeah, just like the immediate shift of blame where you're just like, no, fuck all this like conspiracy theory shit. What's a chick doing here? It's like, fuck once.
Yeah. You know who Trump needs protecting him? Bronzed, shredded beefcakes.
Yeah. Hot beefcake, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he wants.
That's who I want hugging my president.
Yeah.
Did you see Elon?
I only want high tea guys, who do CrossFit and drink raw milk.
The only first name that should be allowable on a Secret Service application should be Chad.
That's right. They're all Chads.
Did you see Elon Musk's tweet, sort of bitterly criticizing the SS? I just thought that was hilarious.
Wait, what? What did he say?
Well, Secret Service, but he said SS. He said SS, and I'm just thinking Elon is really displeased with Himmler's performance.
Oh yeah, I liked it better when it was the SA. He said, and SA is. I'm not talking about the other SA that is also R. I'm talking about. There was two. Never mind. I'm not going to give a history lesson on that. Says you get it. Greg gets me.
Hey guys,
what?
Israel Rust Bucket Force.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Rust Bucket is one word.
Yes, it can be. It can be whatever you want.
All right. Israel Relaxation Force. Why is it easier now?
Oh, that does work because we see videos of them getting like mani-pedis outside of Gaza.
That's right.
Because like, I don't know, cosmeticians just want to help serve their country, and so they make sure everybody has a really glamorous mani-pedi before they go in to schwack some kids.
I'll tell you, as growing up in West Los Angeles in a neighborhood with a lot of Israelis, the Israelis do enjoy a good mani-pedi. They're into the shiny fingernails.
When people say they're tough as nails, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. We are hanging on. We don't need bombs. We'll use our fingernails if we have to. And they're talking about these really shiny, beautiful nails that only Israel can make.
For
my French pedicure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have French tips. But so. I figured we had to talk about it because it was just like, damn, that seems like a news story that is going to live on. And people are saying that, this is going to ensure Trump's reelection. And all I can say is,
yep, get ready.
Yeah.
Prepare thyself.
I was prepared before that. And now, I'm just like, well, there we go. This is it.
Especially now that he's got Jazz Dance Vance.
Jazz Dance Vance.
Yeah, I stole that from someone on Twitter. I thought that was really funny.
JD Vance of Vance Refrigeration. That is the Office reference. So before we end the show, I do want to talk about a meme that I saw.
Okay.
So the IDF, is very much online. And there are a lot of former IDF soldiers who have these accounts, and they're incredibly racist. And there's a level of racism that I think like the average like Israeli has become sort of immune to, in which you've seen how they are not fully in touch with kind of the general liberal Western sentiment around talking about race and whatnot in ways that you're like, this feels racist, but I don't know if they know it's racist.
Yeah, and their memes used to only sort of color code, let's say, opponents and people they could dismiss and mock in terms of the color of someone's hair, purple hair. But this thing you're referring to, Matt, if it's the one I think, takes things considerably further.
Yeah, so there's a guy who I think I've shown some of his tweets before on this podcast, but his name is Aiden. Adine. I like calling him Aiden. It feels, listen,
like Aiden Gillen, Carcady.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was thinking
Irish.
like, any fucking Mormon child now in Utah, they're all named like Aiden or Jaden or Braden.
I think making Hebrew names sound Irish is a good form of verbal violence.
I think so too. I think it hurts their feelings, and I like that. So he puts out these like memes that are like pretty racist, but I think this one might be the most racist one he's ever done. This is his "Choose Your Anti-Zionist."
Ooh, okay.
So for those of you who are listening, it is a series of 4 like Wojaks, and he has made them all essentially.
Or I see 8. There's 8 there, Matt.
Oh yeah, 8. Excuse me, 8 Wojaks. They are all racially coded, not even like secret codes. This is like black guy, black guy, black guy, black guy, black guy, and Muslim guy,
and then white trans person.
Yes, and then of course white trans person. You can't forget, like, they hate people who have purple hair. It's a meme with them, and I just want to like go through them one by one because this is.
I already found mine.
Oh yeah.
He nails me.
Yeah, so it's we're gonna play tag yourself. So I assume, is this you? Are you far left?
Dirty, unwashed leftist.
Okay, so this is far left. Once again,
it looks like Bill Cosby as seen through the eyes of someone who's just waking up from having been drugged by Bill Cosby.
Yes. Just a warped Bill Cosby. He is a black man who's got a North Korean flag.
Deformed Albert.
Yeah, exactly. And it says the far left hates Israel simply for being allied with U.S.
Fair enough.
And then the second point is
it's not as simple. It's a bit reductive, but it's valid.
Yeah. Corroborates the idea that Israel is a quote white ethno state.
Corroborates.
Don't think
weird word choice aside. I mean. You can make an argument that at least it's a white adjacent ethno state.
Right, yeah. But the greatest thing about it is it's just like oh, I mean, if that's your argument, why did you make this guy a black guy? Like it sounds kind of like
you're race baiting.
You're doing a little race baiting and maybe kind of prize the color of your skin. And then unironically thinks North Korea is a totally reasonable country.
I mean, I think that the reason North Korea is the way it is understandable. It has to do with like making up fake borders and like bombing relentlessly an entire group of people, assassinating its political leaders, and just leaving it as a rubble heap. And then something that we don't really like or couldn't really predict is born out of that. Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean,
I clearly didn't listen to my bad Hasbara remix because I actually used North Korea as an example of something bad that Hamas created. So we know.
Yeah, no. What you meant to do is it's something good that Israel created.
That's right. North Korea us.
North Korea us. But yeah, I there's something about like an Israeli criticizing North Korea. At this point, I'm just like, come on, you guys, you do the whole stereotype. Instead of
Kim Jong Ilan.
Right. It's like instead of, Juche or whatever is their religion, they've supplanted Zionism and a perverse form of Judaism that's mixed with Zionism.
I mean, something I saw at the protest yesterday was they have no sense of irony. It's like
yes.
they were yelling at all these Palestinian Americans like, go back to the Middle East. And they're like, we're trying to. It's like no sense of irony at all.
There's a level of like brainworms that like a culture can have that makes them completely impervious to scorn for saying the dumbest possible thing. Like they don't understand irony. So therefore, when they say the dumbest, most ironic thing, you can't even be like, I'm trying to go back if you're a Palestinian, and they're just like, what? Shut up. It's like arguing with anyone in the idiocracy world, I hate using that as an example because it's so overdone, but like it is the exact same thing. You're just like, what? And then you say that, they look like an R word.
Do you have any of the others?
Oh, I have all of them, dog.
Let's look at them all.
Okay, so this is, I think, my favorite. It's Irish, which is just a black guy.
Red Fox or something.
Yeah.
This is the most Irish-looking man I've seen.
It's a Wojak of... It might be Fat Joe. I'm not sure, but it's like very much like, I don't know, the Gangs of New York level of anti-Irish racism, where I'm just like, this is old school, dog. And
perhaps this is the ever elusive leprechaun you find at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, right. The 2 points that are under this anti-Zionist archetype is, quote, we were once occupied too. That's why we support Palestine. Second point is, has no other real arguments.
Needs no other real arguments, motherfucker. That is a sufficient argument.
Name one thing outside of you were also colonized by a brutal people. That's another reason why we're bad.
The Irish are famous for generalizing occupation. Oh, because yours was brutal and bad? This brutal bad one shouldn't exist?
Yeah. You have no other reason to hate us other than... And also, this is just an admission that you're occupiers. I love that.
It's like, oh, yeah, we're brutal occupation and contravention of international law. What else you got, loser?
Yeah.
That's all the heat you're bringing?
Yeah. Oh, you hate Israel? Name 3 of their war crimes. It's like, okay.
That would be a challenge.
Yes.
Name 8 would be an easier question.
Other than occupation. I mean, listen, I'm sorry to do this on the podcast, but it's time to officially announce the Irish. You're no longer white. You're back to your no Irish need apply days. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do it to you, but
better get to that tanning salon there, Mr. Tig.
Yeah, get that tan Tig.
Calling you out. You do not match the photo. You do not match the caricature. I need you to work harder and gain some weight too.
Love this fucking picture. Oh, Percocet. Molly Percocet. Percocet.
Supersize me, boy.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. All right. And then we also, we have, this is Western LGBT.
Paddy Maloney and Sinead O'Connor up in the magazine.
Yeah, there we go. So they got the Western LGBT community.
Which
the points like are
Bowser. Like that is a Bowser expression.
Yeah, that is so damn confused was point 1. Point 2.
Maybe some of them are. I mean, we all deal with confusion.
Yeah, like, I'm mostly confused by your usage of corroborate. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, so it's like you're agreeing with me, or aren't you? Okay.
Yeah. It is. Okay. Yeah, so copes by thinking that Palestine is more liberal than it really is. Doesn't want to talk about why LGBT Palestinians seek asylum in Israel. And if you've ever talked to any LGBTQ Palestinians, the idea that they're lining up in droves to go seek asylum in Israel specifically because they're like, oh, I'm afraid of being hate crimed, is the most laughable idea of all time. It's just like,
although asylum seeker would be a really good Grindr profile name.
Well, that is very good. Asylum seeker.
You know, the Secret Service wishes that Hamas had been there on the day. You know why?
Why?
Throw people off a roof.
They would have thrown them off the roof, of course. Okay, and there's a few more. I mean, this one is just insane. Neo-Nazi.
Wait. Is he going off that old Chappelle Show sketch? The white supremacist?
Yeah, it's the black white supremacist. So incredibly racist. Hates Israel only because it is run by Jews. Hates Jews, but hates Arabs equally as much. Joins pro-Palestinian rallies because they can finally spew hatred without being silenced. Now, I'll give them this. There's absolutely a type of neo-Nazi that falls into this category, and they launder their hatred through anti-Zionism. The problem is you made him a black guy for no reason when he would look exactly like Aiden, the guy who fucking made this post. Like, I'm sorry, he didn't want to insult other white supremacists by making it a white guy. So he's like, no, I'll make it a black guy.
I mean, the thing about all of these Wojak figures, there's just so much to unpack with the imagery itself. Like if you bring this back up, like he's got an X logo, the Twitter logo right there.
Yes,
and that is true. There are a bunch of neo-Nazis all over
100% all over Twitter. Yeah. And you also see that, you know, it's got like some of the different like very online neo-Nazi like emojis. There's a cross, there's the lightning bolt and all that stuff. And it's, you know, it almost works if he didn't make it randomly a black guy and then go on to defend it. Because that's the other thing is like the me calling out this image blew up on Twitter and made a bunch of Zionists mad. So now they're trying to do Hasbara for why this racist meme is actually accurate. And one of them is that, no, it's because black people are neo-Nazis. And I'm like, I really think your view of Nazi at this point is so warped that you're doing Nazi like you are actually a Nazi. The real KKK members are all these damn blood and Crips gangs. We gotta kill them all. It's like, oh my god.
They certainly do not see where they've gotten to and who they've become.
That's right.
Crazy Jews.
Finally, Daniel, it's us. He's got us here.
As a Jew, us. As a Juju, us.
You guys are so smug. Look at y'all.
Yeah, look at us. Look at us. I have a thing or two to say about Israel.
In my graduate seminar, we were just we're having a Shabbat colloquium. If you'd like to come over, we'll break challah and hate on Israel for no reason other than we're beta males.
Yeah. They have it says, thinks they have moral superiority to talk on the subject.
We do, but only because you're so morally retrograde.
Yes.
Like generally speaking, like just relative to like normal people, we have no moral superiority. Probably less than average, but compared to you,
yeah, you've given moral superiority, like we're on easy mode in terms of moral superiority.
It's assist mode, absolutely.
Yes, it's like a game genie for moral superiority. It's like, yeah.
You have a 5-second window to parry with the shield, you know?
Yeah. Come on, man. You made it too easy for us by just not being pro-apartheid and pro-genocide. And then just wants to be accepted by their non-Jewish peers, which is a strange one to me, because to me that's very Israeli. That is what that is, because there are, of course, Jews in the United States and, diaspora Jews all over the world who are insular and have only Jewish peers. But I would say the vast majority have non-Jewish peers and are, of course, accepted by their non-Jewish peers for the most part. To me, only an Israeli could see the idea of acceptance by anyone as being like a fault. It's like you're just trying to impress the rest of the world by being against genocide. And it's like,
look, I'd rather want to be accepted by my non-Jewish peers, i.e. friends and loved ones and people I respect, than want to emulate my non-Jewish persecutors and oppressors.
Right.
Which is what y'all do.
Exactly.
And that's what Zionism was. It's actually an assimilationist movement
100%.
in terms of assimilating into settler colonialism, into white supremacy, into Eurocentrism.
Yes.
You want to be included in the company of nations.
That's right. That's right.
That sublimate their individuality and their moral principles into nationhood.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations. You did it. You've assimilated into being a colonial power.
Viktor Orban loves you.
Yes. Congrats. Still bitter that they didn't get to go on a birthright trip. For anyone who listens to this podcast, you know that one does not apply to me, as birthright is kind of what made me an anti-Zionist.
And I do you about 20 times better, because I spent 10 months on a kibbutz.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I had plenty of opportunity to find out what Israel is about, to fall in love with it forever, to have all of the anti-Zionist hokum debunked, and it didn't quite do the trick.
It didn't take.
Well, as an outsider, it just seems like maybe you guys didn't go to all the right EDM clubs.
I think that's what happened. If I had been on birthright before I got sober, see, this is a problem.
Just sweating on Molly the whole time.
Exactly. If I had just been able to go to a Tel Aviv nightclub and just have some of the best cherry tomatoes that I've ever tasted.
I will grant them this. They called you and me beta midgets and all this kind of shit. I didn't get laid once on kibbutz. It just didn't happen for me. All of my North American Jewish girl friends, none of them were my girlfriends.
Right.
Because they were all hooking up with Israeli soldiers.
Right.
At the disco on Friday night. And I will admit, I fucking hated it and resented it. And that is definitely somewhere in my psychology.
Deep down.
I'm sorry, Palestinians. I'd like to say that it's all moral principle. It's all human compassion. It's all solidarity. No, from the river to the sea, you B-words cheated on me.
That's all it is.
Hey, man. Hey, in the end, we're just a bunch of dudes being guys. Like,
that's right.
How did I get? What was like one of the main things that I got through the ass pain that was special operations selection? Oh, the hope that I may be getting laid eventually sometime in the future.
Exactly.
So,
having a story to tell a girl on a date, that's half the reason we do anything. And
do you think I'm cool now? So I get it.
Yeah. And I
get it. You don't fuck on the first date, but have I told you about the time I exploded a person's dual use complex, and a little girl came out, and I was like, you know what? You can live.
Yeah. So.
And then
fuck later.
And also, here's me being Buffalo Bill in her mom's lingerie.
Look at this funny content I made. Do you see how I'm yelling, put the lotion in the basket, or it gets the hose again? You want to fuck me?
Here, now let me sing for you. Goodbye, horses.
Oh, man. Yeah, so the point being that birthright, or being on a kibbutz for 11 months at a Zionist summer camp, is something that we experience, and yet we still became as Jews.
Well, and it might not be an in spite of situation. It might be a owing to situation.
Oh, 100%.
these people have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do and they're just in denial. How many people get radicalized towards Palestinian solidarity by virtue of having been exposed to this fucking Zionist propaganda?
Yes,
because some of us have critical faculties. Some of us love being North American Jews and are proud of Yiddish culture and are proud of other aspects of Jewish culture and artistic achievement and a kind of humanist view and philosophy and achievements in science and the arts that Israel wants to negate and obviate, okay? And some of us take offense at the notion, boy, oh boy, am I getting steamed up here at the very end. Yeah. Some of us take offense at the notion that our kind of Jewishness is somehow inferior to the Jewishness of a bunch of fucking bunker-dwelling racists, many of whom are in the desert where they don't belong, others of whom are in a different desert than where their families started out and got their culture wiped out, and it's this artificial country, and we're supposed to fucking worship it from afar, a long distance collect call kind of worship culture, but don't you dare have an opinion about it, you little Jew. And some of us said, you know what, that's not so pleasant. I think not. I'm opting out.
100%, and beautiful rant. I want you to rant more, because the one thing about you, Daniel, is you're cogent all the way through. Whereas I forget what I was talking about 2 sentences in.
Well, given that we're probably not going to have Dennis Miller on the podcast, it is up to me to provide the rants.
That's right. Yeah. And my rants are mostly cum-based, sex-based, generally disgusting. Although I will have a real quick rant, and I want to get into this on another podcast because we are running out of time. But the last thing I'll say about Aiden and like this type of like Zionist poster in Israeli is that I think I'm tired officially of any Zionist Israeli who is talking about anti-Semitism as if they've experienced the power dynamic that creates anti-Semitism. Let's put the kibosh on this. If you're an Israeli person, you're living in a society in which you are at the top tier here. So anti-Semitism historically has not been something in which you could say that Jews were at the top tier and then causing anti-Semitism upon themselves or had to deal with it like an anti-white racism in America. I put in quotes. So just the idea that this constant pointing out of anti-Semitism throughout, the fear of anti-Semitism and the kind of the idea of the Israelis safeguarding the world against anti-Semitism. I just am done, allowing them to continue this line of rhetoric, as they actually do not have to experience anti-Semitism, nor have any of the ones who were born and raised there, the Sabras, don't know a fucking thing about it. If you left Israel, I feel like then you could understand the world outside of Israel is not a Jewish supremacist state. It is something in which you might actually be a bit afraid to experience anti-Semitism.
It's a pluralistic supremacist state.
Yes, exactly. And so, just seeing it weaponized and is just one of those things that we just kind of allow without giving a second to analyze the idea that maybe they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because this is like it's like saying you're you just got reverse racism in America as a white person. It's just like the power structure is really the defining aspect of racism here. And
I don't know, Matt. I don't know. I heard a story of a group of Israeli soldiers showed up just with the simple, benevolent intention to bulldoze a Palestinian home, which is to say, uphold the law in the West Bank, uphold Ottoman law, which, as we know, the Turks were reasonable people whose laws were, I think we can all agree were good.
Just and good,
and they showed up, and a Palestinian mother came out of the house, and she said, "My daughter is having her birthday party right now. No soldiers allowed." Well, every single one of those soldiers was Jewish, Matt. And now, what does that remind you of?
Hitler.
Jim Crow.
Yeah.
It's the signs in South Africa.
You make a good point.
Beaches.
I retract my previous statement. It is actually anti-Semitic to yell at an Israeli soldier who's bulldozing your house, in the same way it is anti-white to not allow a white man to use a water fountain that says coloreds only. Like that is racism against white people. Everyone knows that.
It's also racist against white people that they can't say the word colored anymore.
That's right.
It's also racist, but I feel like maybe hot take, this problem would be solved if actually Israelis were more racist. Because because a white guy in Jim Crow South would never even want to drink from a segregated water fountain.
That's
because it's gross. So maybe they just need to be more racist, and it would solve the entire problem.
I think it seems like that's what they're trying out.
Do you think Jim Crow whites were trying to take over black homes?
They were just making sure that they were not moving into those neighborhoods.
That's exactly right.
And redlining. Yeah.
So maybe we've got this backwards. That's all I'm saying. Maybe we just need more racism.
That's right. Maybe they're doing Jim Crow right. And I think that is a good place to leave this episode of Bad Hasbara. Greg, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking with us. Where can people find you? And what is the name of your podcast again, so we can plug it for everybody?
And why isn't it Stoked?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We're just trying to. That might be the next thing. I got a sick burn from someone yesterday, or from a troll a few weeks ago. It was just basically said, discount Brendan Fraser has opinions. So I think that might be my third podcast.
Discount Brendan Fraser has opinions is a really good podcast.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, so we're on Colonial Outcasts. So that we do anti-imperialist stuff. We call it the Anti-Imperialist Podcast Your Uncle Will Hate. Yeah. So that's on YouTube and all like the listening apps. And then I'm also just started with Ment Press. I do a show called State of Play, and that's twice a week. So those are the two places.
All right.
Thanks, y'all. And again, thanks you so much for having me. It's been a great time.
It's been fantastic. I learned so much.
Yeah, same. And
Matt, do you feel like our episodes are getting less and less, let's just do the topical Twitter reel of the week, and more like, let's actually learn some shit from like people who are real specialists, and like the David Sheen, Aaron brought some cool shit. Like it's getting more and more educational, I feel like.
Yeah, I know. And it's getting further and further away from the premise of the show, which is me pressing a soundboard and you doing a pun, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. I don't really know. But I know,
some of our fans want to grow with us, and some of us can just go back and listen to the first 6 episodes on repeat.
Yeah, and just my final thought is, like, if you are getting more sophisticated over time, you are bad Hasbara, because good Hasbara does not evolve.
That's right. That's a very good point. On a meta level, we are doing it correctly. Mm-hmm. So we are doing bad Hasbara by doing good Hasbara. I think I'm having a stroke.
Yeah.
And on the level of meta, don't say Zionist.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Z word, please. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Patreon.com/badhasbara. Please join and subscribe, or email us badhasbara@gmail.com with any questions or comments or concerns. And all right, Daniel, take us out. And we have a good one from producer Adam here.
From the river, until next time, folks.
Until next time, folks.
We love you. And from the river to the sea, today we lost Tenacious D.
Oh, all right.
Jumping jacks was us. Push-ups was us. Krav Maga us. All karate us. Taking Molly us. Michael Jackson us. Yamaha keyboards us. Jar Jar Binks not us. Andor was us. Heath Ledger Joker us. Endless Breadsticks us.